Hi there! With this clip, you will learn about the presence of the Romans in the Iberian Peninsula for 700 years. We will study how they came to the peninsula, second, the phases of the conquest, and third, the process of Romanization of Hispania. We will start with the Romans in Hispania, Spain, Hispania, talking about the conquest of the peninsula. The conquest of the peninsula by Romans started with the Punic Wars. That war was between Carthage and Roman, and it was the origin of the Roman conquest in the peninsula. We had in the Italian peninsula the city of Rome, and here in Tunisia, in the present-day Tunis, it was the main city of Carthage. And it all started with the Punic Wars. They were not one or two, but three. This was the first one. Who fought in that war? Carthage versus against Rome. Rome and Carthage. Why did they fight? They fought because of the control of the western side of the Mediterranean, mainly for the control of those three islands. Who won at that war? The war was won by Rome. These two maps show the distribution of the territory in the Western Mediterranean between Rome and Carthage. This map was at the beginning of the first Punic War, and we see that the three islands we talked before were in hands of Carthage, while in the second one they are already in hands of Rome. The reaction of Carthage was to move to the Iberian Peninsula in order to get greater resources. As I have just said, the reaction of Carthage, after having lost the war, the first Punic War against Rome, was to change the direction of their expansion. They now focused on the Iberian Peninsula. The Carthaginians established in the peninsula in two steps. First of them were with the most important general, Amílcar Barca, who conquered Gadir, Cádiz, and founded the city of Cartago Nova, which is today still existing in the region of Murcia. Later on, his sons, Asdrubal and Aníbal, they conquered the south and the east area of the peninsula. To put a limit to the Carthaginian expansion in the peninsula, the Romans make it compulsory for Carthage to sign a treaty, the Treaty of Ebro. In that treaty, the two of them were forced, in the case of Carthaginians, not to cross the river of Ebro to the north, and the Romans, they were forced not to cross the river to the south. But someone was going to break this treaty, and it was Carthage. Here we can see a map with the expansion of the Carthaginians in the peninsula at its biggest. We can differentiate the expansion during the leadership of the three main Carthaginian generals during those times. In 219 before Christ, Aníbal Barca from the Carthaginians attacked Sagunto, an ally of Rome. As a result of that, Rome started the Second Punic War, sending an army. Those troops landed in 218 before Christ, a year after the attack of Sagunto, and they landed in Emporium. From there, Emporium, their own troops conquered the city of Cartago Nova and the city of Gadir, which were the two main cities in hands of Carthaginians at those times. This map shows the result of the Second Punic War, in which Rome controlled not just the Italian peninsula, but the part of the Iberian Peninsula, which was in hands of the Carthaginians short ago. As you can see, the part of the Carthaginian that they still had after the Second Punic War was just the capital and the surrounding area. There will be another Punic War, the Third Punic War, in which Carthage will disappear. After having seen that the Romans came to the peninsula in order to continue their war and their fight against the Carthaginians, we are going to see the phases of the presence of Rome in the peninsula. This map shows the steps that Romans had to give in the peninsula in order to control all of it. We have four colors, the first one, the second, the third, and the fourth, and the arrows show the set of battles that Romans had to do in order to control the native people who were living there. Doing a little work of deduction, we could come to the conclusion that it wasn't very easy, because it took 200 years for Rome to conquer the whole peninsula. The conquest started obviously when the first Roman troops came in the 218 before Christ with the arrival of the general Publio Cornelio Scipion in the city of Emporion, which is here. The conquest ended not the presence of Rome because it was much longer, but the last year of the conquest was in the 19 before Christ, with the defeat of the Astures and Cantabros in the northwest side of the peninsula. The end of Roman Hispania will come after the invasion of the Germanic tribes to the city of Rome and the falling of the Western Roman Empire. The Iberian Peninsula will be in hands of one of those Germanic tribes, which will be the Visigoths. And finally, we are going to talk about the Romanization of Hispania. The Romans, after having been 700 years, they will do the same process that they had in the rest of Europe, the process of providing the people, the native people, the tribes they were conquering, their own way of life, their lifestyle. This is called Romanization. So, over time, the Roman culture was spread throughout Hispania. It was spread because of a number of factors. The main ones are the ones you have written here and has to do with, first, the language, because the Latin replaced the pre-Roman languages. All of them disappeared with the exception of the Basque Country language. Second, about the religion. The Roman religion, first and later the Christianity, was adopted. And third, it has to do with the Roman urbanism and architecture that was adopted too.